Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Power Rangers Lost Galaxy episode Lost Galactabeasts Part 1. I'm talking about Part 1, not so much Part 2. I'll skim Part 2. I really wanted to talk about Part 1 because I love this episode so much. Why? Action. 2. Sword fighting. I love sword fighting, or at least I really used to growing up. Back when I was like a kid and a teen, it don't matter what show it was, doesn't matter if the sword fighting was good or lame. Every time I saw it, I got cranked. And I was just like happy to see it because I loved swords growing up. I used to buy like the little toy swords and like the little dollar stores, for Halloween, those little samurai type kind with the white blade and everything. And I used to love those things, but they used to always break. And then of course when I got older, I started buying my real swords and everything. I just love swords, and there was a lot of great action in this. And not only that, but it was mainly American footage. Now, I went to the fandom site, and I couldn't find much of anything on like the creation of this episode, which kind of sucks because normally they do a good job with that, especially in the Mighty Morphin episodes. But they really lacked in Lost Galaxy at times, and then later Nickelodeon seasons. And so, I'm not sure why they decided to go with all American footage. Maybe the story didn't revolve around the Blue and Green Ranger, because I'll get into that a little bit later when I get later onto this episode. And so, yes, this focus on both Kai and Damon. And it's really cool to see those two paired together because you really don't see them pairing together that much. In the earlier days, it was mostly Kai and Leo because Kai couldn't stand Leo. And then in a couple of later episodes, we'll see like Leo and Damon, hang out and stuff. But we rarely get to see these two hang out. And Kai has got to be my least favorite Power Ranger of this season, mostly because of how grumpy he is. This dude is always pissed off about something. And that's kind of cool that they have a contrast. Not everybody can be like nice and happy in Power Ranger seasons, but this dude was just always cranky and stuff. But he wasn't as mean as like Eric from Time Force, though. And so, it starts off with Deviot. He has now entered the show. And Deviot's one of my favorite generals. Next to, Goldar, Villamax, what's his name from In Space? Ecliptor, those are some of my favorite ones. They have a cool design, they're really evil, or they have a really cool code and stuff like that. And so he is one of my all-time favorites, and the voice actor has such a great voice. May he rest in peace. And he has a cool design. He's some type of cyborg, and this dude is evil, and he is selfish, and he is all about himself. And so he's trying to get to the cocoon and everything that Scorpius has for Trakina. Trakina has now left because she didn't want to turn into a bug. Scorpius, ooh, I hated him growing up. I did not like the sound of his voice, and I didn't like the way he looked. He looked kind of gross. But I kind of appreciate his design now, but I still hate that voice. And so they had to get rid of Scorpius soon because, the actress Amy, who played Trakina, said that he was just too big to move around. He was just huge, and they had so many people operating him. So they decided to get rid of him and make her the number one baddie and stuff. And so he wants the cocoon, and since Trakina left, he has to prove his worth. So of course he's gonna go after the Rangers. Now at some point when we see him enter, we see these giant Zors and shadows, and we don't know what they're about and stuff. Well, the Rangers are now or the GSA I should probably say, and the Rangers are in possession of the Galaxy book. And it has all these secrets and all this stuff about the area and space in which they're in. And I believe now the Rangers have entered a point where, or the Terra Venture, I should say, has entered a point where they just can't return to Earth. They don't have that much fuel to get back. They've traveled, I think he said like 18 light years and everything. So it's impossible for them to get back. And so, like, Kendricks, because she's like part of the science division in the GSA, she's researching the Galaxy book. But it's hard because it's in a different language and nobody speaks it. And so, like, she sees pictures of the Galaxy Zords and the page is ripped. And so she's like shocked and confused. Like, why are they in this book of all things? You know, what is the bigger picture? Something is up with the Galactabeasts. They're like freaking out and everything. And Maya can sense some type of disturbance in the air because she has that sixth sense, but she can't tell what the world it is. And so she senses like something, you know what I'm saying? Let's get to Kai and Damon. So the go-kart that Kai is supposed to drive in has malfunctioned. So of course he calls the engineering people, and that's Damon and everything. And so Kai is being his butthead itself, talking about like, I have a pot roast that's cooking, that's burning up and everything. I have to hurry and get back, and I should probably just walk. And Damon's like, nah, man, I fixed this, like good as new. So he fixes it, and to add insult to injury, he makes Damon drive him back home. Like, what the world? Well, in a way, they get attacked by Deviant, and so it's morphin' time. We get a nice little like double duo like morph, and they try to fight him. I think Stingwingers too, but he ends up blasting both of them. Well, when they wake up, they see they're on an alien planet, and I love this look so much of the alien planet in which they are on, because they really went out on the like display and everything. They're on a typical alien looking like rock mountain area. The sky is orange to match that of the planet's atmosphere. I love it. And so they wake up and they have like collars around their neck, wrist, and ankles. And they don't know what the world's going on. And here comes Deviant. And so he has this device and he puts it in this machine. Now the device, oh God, Saban. Saban will do anything to be cheap and make everything look affordable. The device Deviant has in the American footage is foam. I always like, why is there a giant foam ball attached to this thing? But in the Sentai footage, it's like plastic or whatever. And it looks shiny and great. But in American, it's just cheap foam, man. So anyway, he tells them, you're under my whim and everything, and you're gonna fight each other to like the death. And so they can't fight it and everything. Like, they literally can't fight it. They're trying their best, but they can't. They have to give in to the machine and everything. And so they do their poses and then they go at it. And I mean, they go at it. And while this is going on, something is going on with the device. Some, like I guess like their energy or whatever it is going into the device as they fight. And I love this sword action so much with their sabers, you know. The American footage, like, I remember one time one of the best sword fights I ever saw was in space between like what's his name? The Red Ranger dude and that one dude who was really evil that kidnapped like Corone. I can't think of his name, but I like that general too. And so, like, I remember the American footage, and that was just, like, awesome. And it really proved that, you know, they can really do some cool, amazing stuff. Because back in the Mighty Morphin days, whenever they would do, like, American footage of them fighting, it was very, very weak and very genetic when they was morphed. Not the civilian fights, but when they was morphed. And I just remember thinking in the third season, like, y'all can do better than this and everything. And I remember I saw a video on, like, one of the choreographers, he's all like, you know, they try to match the style of like the Sentai and all this other stuff. I'm just like, dude, I know y'all can bust out some better moves than that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, they really proved that they could do some really good stuff in this episode, and especially in the Disney era, man, they really had some good choreography there. But then, of course, Damon and Kai, they get tired and they get exhausted. And one thing I've noticed about this, so it's like Kai got the last blow off Damon because he has that eighth gorilla strength and everything. But before he got that good blow off him at the end, you notice something. Damon is actually a better fighter than Kai. And so we see Maya and everything. She shows up. And how does Maya always sneak into GSA? That's only for like workers only. It's like a government facility. And so, she tells her and everything about like, actually, I don't know if this happens before or after. But anyway, at some point, she's all like, "Hey, look, there's a page and blah blah blah, and the missing these are Galactabeasts and everything." I think this is afterwards, because at one point Kendrick does find like the other half of the page, and she's all like, "These are three more and everything." And so Maya said, this must have been a disturbance that she felt or something like that. We see Leo, he goes back to his place, and there's smoke everywhere because the food is burnt. And then I think, what is it? Probably it's either Maya or it's Kendrick's. They talking about how, like, no, I think it's Kendrick's. She's all like, Kai didn't show up for his shift, and so they're looking for them, but they don't know where they're at. And so then we get back to the action. And when we get back to the action, Damon is just whooping on Kai. Like, it's amazing how a mechanic is a better sword fighter than the actual military space dude who has trained in military combat and everything. And I mean, he is just whooping on him to the point where he takes his Quasar saber and he's getting ready to stab him with both of them in hand. But then he gets the upper hand and he tosses Kai's Quasar saber. Did I say lightsaber? I hope I didn't. Quasar saber into the device and makes it explode. Like, he was able to withstand the mental hold the thing had on him. And then of course the Quasar saber comes back in his hand, like telepathy wise, but it shouldn't do that because Damon isn't the holder of the gorilla like Quasar saber. But anyway, they make their escape. And so when they do this is when things get weird for me in the episode. I still like it, but this is where things get weird. As they make their way and they run away and everything, I noticed something. They end up on a beach and the sky is now blue. And I'm just like, why? What happened to like the weird orange space that they was in? Well, this has to do with the Sentai. At some point in time, they will go back to the Sentai footage, and that's why they had to go to like a beach resort and blue skies and everything. It's a weird thing if you don't pay. It's a weird thing if you like catch it, but if you don't catch it, then you won't even realize it. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, the Rangers show up on their jet jammers and everything. And, oh man, this is some good like CGI and stuff. When they come in on their jet jammers, it looks like it's the real freaking thing. It looks as practical as it can be, but it's probably not. It's just CGI. But this is some good VFX for like, late 90s and stuff. And a Power Rangers show at that. We have to give our respect to, what was it called? The Warriors of Tyrannog or whatever it's called. I used to watch that growing up. If they didn't get canceled after one season, then Lost Galaxy would never had the good VFX it did because the budget went to that show. So my props to you for, taking that sacrifice of getting canceled. So the Rangers, like they help out and everything, and Mike shows up as the Magnet Defender. And so like, I think they call on like the lights or whatever. And, we see the Rangers helping them out. And so Damon and Kai, even though they're exhausted, they still hold their own in the fight. But then this is where I say, like, I don't think this episode revolved around them in the Sentai. Because when they call for the final attack of, like, the Lights of Orion, it's the Maya Sentai counterpart that takes center stage during the lights. And whenever a person takes center stage during the lights, there normally is their solo episode. And so like Then Deviant, because they blast Deviant, but it goes into like the device, so it doesn't even kill him. And so then he reveals his master plan all along. He reveals the Centaurus and Stratoforce and everything. Now, if you ever heard my review before, you know these Zords help them. Well, at this point in time, they're evil, but we don't know why they're evil yet. And so they call on their Zords, but then something crazy happens. None of the Zords will fight them and stuff, and they don't know why. Even the Zord will not fight, and he's not even a Galactabeast. He's just a regular Zord, but he must be like buddies with him or something. And so they end up getting their butts whooped bad. And so when Deviant goes back, Scorpius wants to know, yo, why didn't you kill him and everything? And of course, you know, that's a typical villain thing. They don't kill him. They give him a taste of getting their butt whooped so that they can fight him the next time and then kill him then. And so, like, at this point in time, Kai and Kendrick's there in like the lab and they're trying to research the book, and they know that missing page that got ripped has something to do with their Galactabeasts, but they're not sure yet. And it goes into the next episode. Basically what happens, it turns out these are the lost Galactabeasts and they're all buddies and friends and everything. Well, at some point in time, Deviant found them badly damaged and he restored them with cybernetics and stuff like that, and he turned them evil. And so that's why they won't fight them. He still doesn't understand why the Zord won't, but you know, whatever. He calls on the monster has the device. Maya convinces the Galactabeasts to, like, you know, fight their old friends. They have to and everything. So they fight and they fight and they fight. And so I forget how exactly they turn them good, because the monster destroyed the device so nobody can turn them good. But I think the power of love or something like that turned them good again. So then they start fighting on their side. And so, yeah, this was a really good episode. I love the action. It was like great action. I guess you're pumped and everything. And it proved that the American stuff can like do justice. So only time will tell what Netflix will do when they start making their own American Power Rangers show. I just hope they don't go too dark and gritty, you know? Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.